see. Alright, I'm going to take an opportunity and show how to haft some stone points onto an arrow shaft here that I've got that I made. I've already attached the fletching to it, and I put the fletching on with the end inserted first and then folded over, and then lash it into place and then lash it around at the end. This is a piece of cottonwood sapling that I've straightened, and then I cut a notch in here for hafting stone points, and I have a couple of stone points that I quickly made. This style, which would be Kyokia style, and then I've got just kind of a generic pseudo Cahokia style obsidian point that I put together. What you need is, again, your arrow shaft, your stone or metal point, and some cordage here. And then I've also got some pine pitch that I harvested some summers ago, right from the sap of the trees, and I've treated it with some charcoal and ground up clamshells. So this is going to be the sticking agent. I'm just going to use a little bit of this. So what I need is a heat source, and what I'm going to do is I just want to kind of melt. I'll take my little lighter here, and I just kind of want to melt some of the pine pitch down, and I'm being very careful, and I'm doing it over some aluminum foil here, and to get it nice and tacky or sticky, so that I can go ahead and apply some to the inside of my haft here. So I'm going to have to get that a little bit more. It's not as sticky as I like it. So don't have very much here, but let's see what we can make here. Yeah, so that's why. Alright, there we go. So I can get some of this in there. There we go. Like that. This is going to be our sticking agent. There we go. There it is. I don't need a whole lot. I just want a little bit. Okay, so there's some pine pitch in there. And then what I want to do next is I'm going to take my cordage, and this is the kind of a cool trick that I learned from watching the late Ron Hood, and for hafting stone points or primitive points to arrow shafts. So essentially you want to make a loop here and set it inside, and I just have some artificial sinew or waxed nylon. So I'm just going to set this inside, and on top of that I want to go ahead and I want to take my stone point and I want to set this in there. Okay, but before I do that, I want to kind of melt this down a little bit. And to be careful not to heat the or burn my cordage. Like that, and then quickly set my stone point down up in there. Just like so. That should get it to stick. Okay. So now while that's adjusting, get that in there. Okay, while that's adjusting, I'm going to go ahead, and what I want to do is I'm going to take my cordage and I want to start to wrap just below, all the way down the shaft a bit. This is going to help prevent the stone point from splitting the wood. Okay, so I just go down a little bit, and it's going to help split the wood up on impact. So about right there is going to be good enough. Then what I want to do is I want to climb back up a little bit couple of swirls. I'm avoiding my loop. And back up, okay? Now once I go back up, then I want to go around the side notches and then down through the back. And then flip over to the other side, and I want to go around the side notches and then down to the other side, like so. So I'm just basically doing a crisscross shape, and at this point I can start to tighten up to get, or to lock in the shaft, or the stone point into the shaft. I'll do this a few times. So this locks in pretty good. Okay. And then, so notice I have this end out here, which is fine because we're going to need this in just a little bit. Okay. But I want to start to adjust and set things in. Okay. At this point, this is going to be more of a decorative piece here, but for hunting or combat, I would add more pine pitch to cover all this and to fill in holes and gaps and smear and spread it up in there so that it's permanently set. But if I did that now, it kind of make it look ugly and unattractive, which is not my purpose. But again, if this was for utilitarian versus decorative, I would go ahead and add more pine pitch and force it up into these notches and to kind of glue it and set it into place. So, but I'm not gonna do that right now. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reinforce the shaft a little bit before I finish this off. Go down one more time, and then I'm gonna come up. And then what I want to do is I'm gonna take my end here and set it in my loop, like so. There's that. And then I take my loose end here and pull it like so underneath my arrowhead, and that'll set it in. And then I would go ahead and take some scissors, and I can pull this really tight. I can take some scissors, snip this off, and snip this off. So in fact, let me do that right quick. Okay, go ahead and actually I'm going to snip this first one so I can hide it. And I can kind of pull it further so it's up underneath there. And then I would snip the second one. There we go. And I'm going to tuck that in there. Nice and easy, nice and neat behind things. So, but for the most part, this is how you would haft an arrowhead, a stone point, and it's pretty much in there. It's solid. It's not going anywhere. And a couple of points, so to speak, is that on the side notching here, where this cordage is going to wrap around, you kind of want to, if you can, when you're flint napping these or pressure flaking this, to make them dull. So I usually take the edge of my pressure flaker here and rub inside of here so that as I'm pulling this tight, it doesn't rub, doesn't snap or break my my cordage. The other thing is, when you're cutting your back notch, you kind of want to make it so that the arrowhead is going to be perpendicular with the cock feather here. This is called the cock feather, and this is the one that sticks out. This is the one that sticks out against the bowstring, so it's perpendicular to the bowstring. So you want your arrowhead to be in alignment with one of the cock feathers, essentially. So when you're looking down the arrow, the shaft of the arrow, it's either going to be straight up and down or straight across, depending on how you shoot. But for the most part, I prefer to shoot straight up and down. So just some little side notes there, just quick and dirty. This would be basically how you haft it.